welcome to my channel. Welcome to today's video. Today's video is going to be a foundation roundup. So this is the video I like to do after I've done a few foundation reviews and wear test, first impressions. Some of these I didn't do first impressions on, but just come back, pull them all together, and then rank them, give my thoughts, who I think that they'd be good for now that I've tested them a little bit more extensively. So if that sounds good to you, make sure you give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't yet. I do a lot of foundation reviews on my channel here. I also do shop my stash videos, testing out new products. So I try to do a little bit of it all, but foundation is my one true love. Without any further ado, let's just get started ranking all of these. I do have 6 foundations here to talk about. I will be listing all of their corresponding videos up above, and then I will also be inserting in my swatch photos of these foundations so you can take a look at that and my comparisons against the two. So just before we get started talking about the number 6 spot here, I do just want to talk about what I look for in a foundation, my skin type. So I do have normal leaning dry skin. I live in the southwest of France, so I wouldn't say it's too humid or too dry here. Pretty average, run of the mill. You know, I used to live in Arizona where it was very, very dry. I lived in the Philippines where it was very, very humid. So I would say it's just very average here. With normal leaning dry skin, I do prefer a light to medium coverage, and mostly what I look for, I'm fine with a medium coverage, a full coverage. I just want there to be a natural wear down. That is honestly the number one thing I look for. I don't want my foundation to be breaking apart throughout the day. I don't want it to be fussy. I don't want to have to touch it up. So those are just kind of my preferences while going through this ranking here. As far as when I rank a product, I kind of take my preferences in mind, but I also just try and ask myself, would I recommend this product to my best friend? So that's something that maybe like I like a product and it's something that like I'll continue to use. It's like a top favorite for me, but I can't really see it working for other people. So maybe that knocks it down. I'll be talking about all those things and more. Let's just get started with the ranking. For number 6 here, this is the new KVD Good Apple Serum Foundation. I have the shade Light 021. Shade's not a great shade match for me. But, you know, this was not great. I did a battle between this and the Balm. This foundation, you know, I talked about this in the video, so a lot of this is going to be repetitive, obviously, but I think you're either going to prefer only the serum or only the Balm. And let's just get number 5 out of the way. Number 5 is going to go to the Balm. So number 6, number 5, and I just prefer the Balm over the serum. You know, both of these give full coverage, but this just looks more natural on the skin. This has like not great wear down. It is very full coverage, and I'm fine with full coverage, but obviously that was a factor when looking at these other foundations. There's a time and place for these, but I don't see myself reaching for this ever again. It just didn't look good on my skin, and this is geared more towards oily skin people. So it's not really meant for my skin type. Keep that in mind. And this is meant for more dry skin people, and it just looks better on my skin. It looks more hydrating. This also has a more natural wear down than the serum. The only thing that the serum has that the Balm doesn't is this is not transfer proof, and this is not going to go anywhere. Now, it breaks apart when it wears down, but I would agree that it's very, very transfer proof. Whereas this, like specifically on my glasses, it would slide if you don't powder and touch it up and kind of keep it set down. So I just wasn't really impressed with these. I will keep using the Balm, but not very often. Like, this is not an everyday foundation for me, so I could go without it in my collection. They're just ranking a little bit more towards the bottom. I would not repurchase either of these. Going into the number 5 spot, this is a Dior foundation, and this is an $86 foundation. This is the Dior Capture Total Cell Energy Super Potent Serum Foundations. You know, I grew to love this. I didn't love this when I did a review, and I found I also have this in my ranking all of my Dior foundations. That video is going to come up around the same time as this one, so if it's already up. I will link it either above or down below. And I did learn to like this foundation and figure out how to make it work for me, because in the video, I didn't really give this a great review. You have to apply this with fingers. This is like a glorified tinted skincare foundation type thing. Luckily, I used points on this and I got this for free, so I'm not totally mad at it. I like the end result that this gives. It just took me a long time to figure out the purpose of this product, and I wish that they didn't necessarily advertise it as a foundation. So it's okay. Shade range is not good. Off the top of my head, I think that it only has like 6 shades. Of course, you'll be seeing my swatch comparison of all my Dior foundations, but I have the shade 2N. 2N always works for me. Luckily, there's usually a 2N in a Dior foundation. I very much fit the designated marketing group for Dior, but shade range is not good on this. It is a nice foundation. Like, I'm happy that I have this. Unlike the KVD, it's not one where I could just take it or leave it. Like, I am glad that I have this. It's just not one that I would recommend pretty much to anyone, but it does look really beautiful on the skin. It's just not worth the price tag or anything like that. Now, going into number 3, this is when it starts to really pick up on foundations that I've been really enjoying. And I kind of struggled with the top 3, but top 3, so number 3 is going to go to this powder foundation. This is the new Makeup Forever HD Skin Matte Velvet Powder Foundation. I don't use powder foundation that much, and that's why I've kind of just ranked this lower, because it's something that I really have to think about before I use it. I kind of, when I do my makeup, I'm on autopilot. I'm just pulling out products, putting them on my face. And if I'm gonna go in with a powder foundation, this sounds silly, but I have to do my concealer first. And typically I do my concealer after foundation. That's why I always just forget to pull this out. It sounds silly, but that's just how my brain works. I do really like how this looks when it's on. I like that the coverage is very versatile. You can really get, just like they talk about, a sheer, medium, or full coverage out of this powder, and it looks nice on the skin. Despite it being a powder, I think everyone is a little bit worried that it would just look really dry, but it looks nice on the skin. I like having this. Just when I look at the other foundations that I've been testing and loving, I just don't reach for this one as much, but I'm very, very happy that I have it. I have the shade 1R12. I think it's actually a pretty good shade match for me. When I first got it, I didn't think it was going to fit my skin tone at all, but it doesn't translate the same on the skin. So I'm happy with the shade that I have. I never tried the original Makeup Forever HD powder, and I heard everyone loving that one. So that's why I like picked this up like the day it came out in France. So I've been loving this. I'm going to continue to use it. I have all my foundation separated into kind of like my top favorite drawer, and then like my second chance drawer is what I call it, but basically like favorites, not so much. And this is going to go in my top drawer for sure, as well as the rest of these go forward. The other ones, the KVD, will for sure go in my second chance, and the Dior will probably go in my top drawer as well. For my number 2 foundation, this one I wanted to put number 1. It would probably be number 1 based on preference, but not on recommendations, because I wouldn't recommend this to most people unless I really had an in-depth knowledge of like their skin type and what kind of foundation that they prefer. But for me, this is my top favorite out of all of these that I've been trying. And this is the Guerlain Terracotta Le Tint. I've had this for probably like 2 months now. Guerlain is a French brand, so they've released this here before the US. I think it just released in the US, and I've been loving this. I have the shade 2N. The problem with this foundation is, I can't see it working for all skin types. I think you have to have pretty much normal skin. If you have too oily, too dry, it's not gonna look great. It can kind of wear down a little cakey if you put too much powder on it. If you're oily, I think it's gonna just slip off. But if you have normal skin, like, it looks beautiful. This looks like the perfect medium coverage everyday foundation if you want just something a little bit extra. Like, this is pretty light coverage, like light medium coverage. I like the coverage of this one a little bit more for every day. This is not necessarily an everyday foundation for me, but like on those more special days, this is nice. I would wear this to work if I still like had a 9-to-5 office job. So I've really been liking this. I'm curious to see what other people think now that US reviews are gonna start coming out. I don't think it's that expensive for a foundation. I wanna say it was like 56 euros. And I recently also picked up their highlighter, which was 52 euros. So in comparison, like the foundation's a steal. But I've been really liking this. I have other Guerlain foundations, and usually they're either hit or miss for me. The Guerlain Lingerie de Peau, I love that foundation. However, the Guerlain L'Essentiel is not my favorite at all. I also have the Guerlain Pure Gold, which I plan on doing a first impression review on soon. I've just kind of been backed up on foundations here, and that's part of why I was doing this video too, because I kind of need to like set these ones aside, stop using them, and then focus on new ones here. But going back to this, you know, if you're a foundation lover and have normal skin, I think this is worth picking up. But this is not mature skin friendly. I will say that for sure. Whether you're oily or dry, this will settle into fine lines. Luckily, I don't have too many. I have to be careful on my forehead because I do have like a pretty deep forehead wrinkle, and that's where I'll notice it. If I powder too much, then I have to like tap it out. So it doesn't work well with powder. If you're not a powder lover, you don't use powder on the daily, your skin's not too mature or like, you know, not too many wrinkles there where it can like sink in, I think you'll really, really like this. But it's gonna stay number 2 because I just don't think that it's for everyone. I think the margin of people who are going to love this is very, very small. Last up is number 1. This is the foundation that I'm wearing today. Everything that I'm wearing on my face is always listed down in the description box below. And this is the one out of all of them, when I looked at them, it would be the one that I would recommend to everyone. Dry skin, oily skin, normal skin, mature skin. You know, I think that this is the best foundation that I've tried in quite a long time. Just for me, I don't know, there's something about it. I just like the Guerlain more, but let me go back. This is the L'Oreal True Match, and this is the new reformulated. I did a battle or comparison between the two. For the new formula, I have the shade 2N, and I have the shade N3 for the old one, which is a little bit dark. I don't find too much of a difference between the two formulas. However, I know that this is different now. I believe that it's vegan now. So I didn't find anything as far as like wear time. If you love this foundation, if this was a holy grail cult classic favorite for you, I think you'll still like the reformulated version. And of course, now it has a pump, which is amazing. I love that. And you know, this is nice. It gives that perfect light medium coverage. This I would wear every day. It has a little bit less coverage than the Guerlain. I think this is a great foundation. And I think that what trumps it over all the other foundations is just its versatility. It looks great if you use fingers, sponge, brush, regardless of how you like to apply your makeup, regardless of what kind of primer you use. I never run into a problem when using this foundation, and that's what beats it over the Guerlain, because the Guerlain is just a little bit more finicky, and this works with everything. I never have any problems with it. I can reach for it when I know I need something to work. If I'm like maybe testing a complexion product and I need something just solid that's going to not mess up the complexion product so I can really see how that works, this is what I reach for. I really, really like this. I think I'll finish this bottle. It's a great drugstore foundation. Happy that I have it. The price is great. The shade range is better than the original, so I have nothing bad to say about it. I'm really happy that L'Oreal decided to bring this back. Now, I do wish that they would take some of their other foundations. I'm mainly talking about the Age Perfect line, and maybe revamp their shade range, because that shade range just, it leans so orange. I can't believe it. And this shade range looked so much better. The neutrals look better, the cool, the warm. So I know now that L'Oreal can do a nice shade range, and they need to take their other foundations that have good formulas and revamp that shade range. But that's all I have to say about these. These are all the foundations. I was actually a little surprised I only had 6. For some reason in my head, I was like, man, I really need to do a foundation roundup because I have so many backed up foundations. There are still some videos on my channel that maybe weren't included in this roundup because I still want to get some thoughts on them. I'm just not all the way ready to talk about them and rank them yet. So of course, the foundation roundup I like continue to do throughout the year once I just have a lot of foundations. So stay tuned for that, but that's where I'm going to leave this video. I hope it was helpful. Let me know down below in the comments what foundations you plan on picking up. There's been a lot of choices since January. I just feel like every single brand is coming out with a foundation. I'm not mad at it. Some of them I had to make some tough choices on just which ones I wanted to talk about and review. There was the Too Faced one. I was kind of interested in that one. I ultimately ended up passing on it. There are a few others that I was just like, I'm happy with the ones that I have, but I love testing foundations. So let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. That's all I have for you today, and I will see you in my next video. Bye, everyone.